These 7 apps that I use in medical school have genuinely changed my life. I've tried out different apps to make my study more efficient and actually remember the things I'm studying, and I've finally found a system that works for me. So hopefully there's some elements in there that you can use for your own system. Hi everyone, my name is Nisal. I'm a medical student in Australia, and there's 3 categories of apps that I want to talk about today, and the first one is for note taking. Now there's so much content in medical school. There's lectures, there's PBLs, there's clinical stuff. It's never ending, and I really wanted one place that I can put all of my notes to so that I'm confident that if I ever need to find anything, that's where it's gonna be. And the best app for this I found is OneNote. So OneNote is like a digital note-taking system that you can expand beyond your wildest dreams. Like you can make notebooks for each of your courses depending on by week or by subject or by topic. And it's completely free. I have it on my laptop, my iPad and my iPhone. You can bring in like your lecture slides, images, videos, audio recording, and pretty much even annotate in OneNote itself. And my favorite feature is that there's no limit to the amount of page there is. There's no like A4, A3, anything like that. It's just like a never-ending sheet of paper as wide as you want. And in medical school, where you're constantly learning and the understanding of your topic is not always final, you know, like you'll understand a concept to a certain extent and then you'll get a new piece of information from a friend or a professor that kind of changes your mindset about it, so you'll need to add that onto your note. And I found it's really useful to have sort of unlimited space when you have your note-taking system. The second app that I found really useful in my first semester is Goodnotes, and it's an app that you use on your iPad. Like you can like annotate your slides, you can write notes, you can do all sorts of cool things. And I found it's really good for things like anatomy because I can draw out certain things. If I can draw out the human heart and like label everything, that provides like so much better comprehension for myself. And rather than just trying to be like, oh, okay, that goes there, that goes there, it really helps when you can just draw it out and understand where everything is. And of course, like handwriting it without having paper is really useful because I can annotate or like draw something and I can bring it to OneNote and have it there. The third note-taking system that everyone swears by, all the medical students, all the productivity people, is Notion. But the only problem for me with Notion is that I'm not very like tech savvy, so I had a really hard time understanding, oh, there's a database, you can bring this thing in, you can link the databases, you can bring in images, you can make a page, and there was a big learning curve that I wasn't interested in learning, unfortunately. I didn't find that it worked for me, so I quietly kept it aside and then moved to OneNote. But that is a really good option if you are willing to put like a little bit of effort into learning the system. The second category of apps that is probably the most useful is the apps for active recall. And if you're a medical student or if you're an aspiring medical student, you definitely must have heard of Anki. So Anki is like a flashcard app that you can use to test yourself on material. You can create your own deck of cards or you can import decks that other people have made. And it's really useful because with every question, you can decide on how well you performed in it. So I think there's like hard and medium and like easy. So if you found a question like really easy, you can put easy, and then the Anki wouldn't like ask you that question again for a little bit of time. But if it was a really hard question and you chose hard, then like 2 questions later, you'll get that same question again, because then you're practicing that question again, and those hard questions will become like second nature for you as well. And I really like it for anatomy because on the question side, I can add like an image, and like if it's a label diagram, I can kind of like scribble out and then test myself on what I think that is. It does take a bit of time to make these questions, but I think it's really worth it just for the fact that I know that everything that can be tested in the exam is in Anki. So before the exam, if I've completed my Anki decks and I'm really familiar with them, I can be pretty confident that I'm good to go for the exam. Truly, it's really hard to know when enough is in medical school because you think like you can be tested on everything, but you will be tested on the things that the professors think is useful. So it's really useful to make your own Anki deck and just have that peace of mind, at least for myself, that every everything that can be tested is on Anki, and I'm actively practicing those questions. The second app I use is very new. It's ChatGPT, and AI in general can be used for this. And I think it's the Feynman technique that Richard Feynman said, if you can explain that concept to a 5-year-old, you've really understood that concept. That's sort of what I'm practicing with AI. Like, I've really found it's useful to try and explain how much of a concept I know to AI and ask it to assess my understanding and clarify any points that I've mistaken and give me like points for improvement. You know, like if it's like a physiological concept like regulating blood pressure, you can just explain what you know to AI and ask it to clarify your understanding. My whole understanding of like asthma pathologies, COPD pathologies, what else is there? Cystic fibrosis, what's the not Crohn's. Oh, celiac disease. Those physiological concepts, like I did not know what I was doing before I started asking AI to clarify these concepts. And this is like the best form of active recall, because while you're trying to understand the concept better, you're also like learning how to structure your answer. If it ever comes up in the exam, if that question like genuinely comes in the exam, you'll have like explain to AI so much what this concept is and what your understanding of it is, that you'll like naturally build an exam answer that you can just write in the exam straight away. The last section of apps I want to talk about is for organization and focus, because it's really nice to want to do all of this studying, but if there's physically no time in your calendar to do this, then that's a bit of a problem. So the first app I swear by is Google Calendar, because I struggled before using a calendar to understand what the time I had in my life was. After I got a calendar and I actually like scheduled the things that I do each week, now I can finally understand like my capacity, like my time capacity. If I want to do YouTube and study and go out with my friends and, you know, do all of that stuff in one day, it's physically not possible, man. Like, the best part about medical school is that they give you a customized timetable on when all the classes are each week, like for that whole semester. I really love color coding because it gives me an idea about how much time I'm spending on each thing. I do schedule my like study times, and I can see, okay, I studied 5 hours on Monday, studied 2 hours on Tuesday, I didn't study at all on Wednesday, I studied 2 hours on Thursday. Oh, that's not a lot of hours that I'm studying that week, so I should probably allocate more time for studying. So it's really useful to have that visual representation for me. The last app I want to talk about is a really fun one called Focus Friend, and it's a very cute aesthetic app that helps you keep focus. And the whole point is that there's a bean. My bean's name is String, because string bean. So this bean has a really hard time focusing. So the bean really wants to knit, but the bean keeps getting distracted. So when you enter focus mode with your bean, the bean knits and you can do whatever you want, like study or anything. Depending on how much time you stay focused, the bean knits like a certain amount of socks and scarves. With these like socks and scarves, you can trade them for like furniture for the bean's room. So right now I have a really nice room for my bean, and I've been upgrading his desk and his bed and different things like that. So with Focus Friend, there's an option called like deep focus mode, and if you turn that on, even if you leave the Focus Friend app, you can't enter any of the other apps that are on your phone. But if you don't turn the deep focus mode thing on, then you can exit the app, and then you can enter other like Instagram and WhatsApp and all that stuff, which I found is really useful because sometimes I'm studying and I really want to focus, but I'm also awaiting like a text from a friend, or I want to go on Google and search for certain images on my phone, you know. So it really comes in handy if you don't want any distractions. I turn deep focus mode on and then enter focus mode, and then the bean knits and I study. I found this app just, whenever I click like focus mode, I feel like an intentional need to stay focused on my task as well. And of course, the string bean needs to knit, all right? I need to upgrade its freaking whole entire house. But that's it for me, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. Try out these apps that I mentioned, and if there's any more that you found really useful, I would love to know about it. Leave those recommendations in the comments, and I'll catch you in the next one.